our fourth episode of Rolling with the Punches. Me and Ben are here today, and we're going to go through our pound for pound list. And then after that, we're going to discuss on points such as what about the belts in boxing? Is there too many belts? Is it good for boxing? And so on. So, Ben, what's happening? How are you?
Not too bad, mate. Up in it's the morning here now. We're doing this one, so a little bit knackered, but should be all right. To be fair, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm all right. I've had better mornings, but it's all good.
Yeah,
So,
are we?
yeah. So Ben, talk to me. I mean, do you want to just go straight into it? Because
we'll start at number 10, mate, I guess, and we'll. I've got a little list here, so we can start at number 10.
Yeah, let's crack on with that. So I want you to go straight into it. So give me your 10th person.
Okay, so up until recently, I had Pacquiao at 10, just because he's an 8-weight world champion, and while he's active, for me, he's got to be in there. But he's been too inactive now. Obviously, hasn't boxed since 2019, I think now. So I put Ioka in there, Kazuto Ioka. He's a 2-weight world champion. He's looking really good at Superfly. And I think he's a bit of a dark horse in that division, mate, because a lot of people are talking about, Estrada, Chocolatito and the like. But I think he's one to watch because he can bang hard. He's got a good work rate. And he's looking like he could be a huge star in Japan. So that's probably my number 10. What about you?
Really interesting, that. Yeah, mine's really bold. I put Lomachenko at 10. Purely for the reason of his latest loss. And as we were discussing before, his amateur career, unrivaled, definitely the best amateur to ever be, probably.
Yeah, probably, mate. Yeah, for sure.
But I just don't, that's just my honest opinion. I don't have him kind of anywhere lower than that. And maybe as he kind of avenges his loss and comes back, I'll probably bring him further down. But it's kind of how he comes back from that I want to see before I bring down my pound ratings, really.
Yeah, I know he sort of made a few excuses, but I think there was a lot to be said about that injury he had. And I think it wouldn't surprise me if he came back and beat Teofimo. That's what great people do. They come back and win in those defining fights. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him come back.
I'd like to come back, but he's not coming. They're not doing the rematch straight away, are they?
No, to be honest, I think that's the right decision anyway. I'm not sure it was because of a decision, but I think that might work in Loma's favor. I think he should just have one sort of comeback fight against a fringe world guy, and then jump in for a world title straight away. And I think he'll come back strong. Yeah,
well, hopefully, and we'll see anyway. Because I'd like, as a fan, I'd like to see the rematch straight away. But you probably are right. He probably does need just a bit of time. Because it's confidence as well, isn't it? After that kind of loss, you want to build your confidence back up as a fighter.
If I'm Teofimo, I don't take that fight now. I go on to bigger and better things. Probably try and look to get that last belt, Haney, and then move up because he looks big at the weight. Yeah, but I don't know. It depends how much money's in it. Anyway, what's your number 9, mate? Go on, you start on this one.
All right, my number 9, I've got Estrada. Now that might change, obviously, after the Chocolatito fight. But right now, Estrada's there for me. I think unreal boxer. What about you? What do you think about Estrada?
Yeah, mate. Obviously, with him, I think he's a 3-weight world champion, isn't he?
Is he a 3-weight?
Yeah, I think he is, mate. Yeah. Oh, it could. No, I might be wrong.
Yeah,
he had a fight at light flight at the start of his career against Roman Gonzalez and lost that fight. So yeah, he is only a 2-weight world champion, but he's a bit higher on my list. But I'll go into that in a bit more detail later. But yeah, I think with him, he has the potential to fly up my list and be right at the top if he beats Chocolatito. Because to avenge that defeat, it's then like you've avenged all the defeats in your career because he lost to Wanjek. I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Yeah.
And he avenged that loss in a close fight. So if he beats Chocolatito, then there's not many excuses you've got left apart from fighting some other guys. But my number 9, I have got Gennady Glocken. So he broke the record obviously recently for record title defenses, and his only loss to Canelo. So I mean, I know he probably hasn't fought the high caliber of fighter for a while. For me, you can't not put him in there almost because like he's such a big name. He's such a big name, and I know he's getting old, and people are saying you never lose your punch, right? But I don't think he can box at the highest level anymore to the degree he was. He's getting old now, but I think while he's still active, you've got to throw him in there. I can't see why you wouldn't.
I don't blame you. You are right. We'll see anyway.
Yeah, but I know I understand why people would put him out of it, but like I wouldn't be surprised if he came back against Canelo and beat him. But I know, yeah, I know Canelo's now just an unbeatable fighter, and we'll go into him and discuss it a bit later. But he's one of those guys in boxing that you should never write off.
Yeah, that's true.
He
boxed to a brawl
in that first fight and obviously got robbed with the draw. And if he had that fight on his record, even if he'd lost in the rematch, you would have him in the top 10 because he has Canelo on his record. He beat him in that first fight. But yeah, that's just me.
That's a really good point you make there, actually.
Yeah, I think he's got to be in there, but I can understand why someone wouldn't. Number 8. I'll start on this one, if you like.
Yeah, please do.
I've got Errol Spence at number 8.
Yeah.
Again, I would have him higher because I don't think he's got. I mean, I know he beat Brook in a tough night, and he beat Porter in what was probably one of the fights of the year in United. He's held the IBF now for, I think it's coming up to 4 years, unbeaten, and obviously, you know, again with him, as soon as he boxes Crawford, if we ever see that fight, he can fly all the way up the list. But for me, you've got to include him just because of the pedigree, really, and just because I think, barring Crawford, I can't see anyone at welterweight beating him. So that's why I'm at number 8.
That is the fight at welter. I don't know if we're ever going to see it. I hope we do. That will be. Can you imagine the size of that fight?
It's seismic, mate. But you know, promotional issues, and I think the purse will be an obstacle. I think like both fighters will be arguing forever about who gets the most money in that fight. But the way to do it is the way they've done Fury AJ, just split it down the middle and make it. Yeah. But I don't know. We'll see. What about you? You're number 8, mate.
Two big egos. At number 8, I've got Pacquiao. Simply because I know he hasn't fought since 2019, and obviously he's an old man now, almost. But even in 2019, like his fights against Adrian Broner and Keith Thurman, like to be fighting them at his age, like that's just insane for me. He's done it all, and I can't not have him in this list. So.
You know, like I completely get that school of thought. Like I know you can't knock that. I think it's also quite admirable when you hear someone has Pacquiao in the list. Like I can respect that quite highly because the work rate that man's got for his age still, and the amount of shots he throws, like he can beat anyone still on his day.
That's the thing. It's like it's almost like respect him. If that man who's put his whole life into boxing. If anyone's going to be in my list, he has to be at least in there somewhere.
I think when you think about his career as well, like 8 weights, that's incredible. How you can go from, he's incredible human, like, and he's done incredible things for his country. So, yeah, I can respect that for sure. Sorry? Number 7, who you got at 7?
Yeah, so at 7, I've got Usyk. So, I think Usyk's an amazing cruiser, the best, potentially the best ever. That's a really big statement. Potentially the best ever cruiserweight for me, to be honest. And he'd be lower down, but at heavyweight, he hasn't proved himself enough for me yet. But in his boxing ability, which is pound for pound, I think he's unreal. And some of the way his angles, for me, that's what's impressive. The way he can find such angles at such a heavyweight, it's unreal. He's up there for me.
Yeah, that fight with Joyce is going to be, it's going to be a weird fight. I think, like stylistically, do you know those fights that you can't picture in your head?
Yeah.
You can't picture them in front of each other and how that's going to play out. Like, is Joyce just going to look to pound him with that jab, or is Usyk going to school him? Like, it's one of those fights I just can't picture how it goes. So it's going to be interesting to see how he pushes on now.
I'd love to see Usyk against Joyce getting the victory there, but again, I wanted it against Dubois, and I said it, but I almost couldn't see it, like you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's just something about Joyce, mate. It's just like that feeling that he's a bit slow, but really, like, he's an exceptional boxer with an exceptional amateur pedigree. So it just makes sense for him to beat Dubois. When you think about it, it made sense. I know Dubois was knocking anything out, but when you're knocking, there's difference between knocking. Who was that guy? There was a guy.
Peter.
Yeah, do you know he got spotted in Winter Wonderland, I think it was, having a sausage roll like a couple of days before that fight. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know, mate. Yeah, with Joyce, but we'll see. I'm excited to see what happens. For me, number 7. We are at number 7, aren't we?
Yeah, mate.
I think Estrada.
Yeah.
Is at number 7 for me. I think he's going to beat Roman Gonzalez this weekend coming. And like I said before, when you avenge those defeats, that's when you become a great, because you've proven that you can overcome adversity and come back. I think that that fight with Quadras recently, the most recent one, I was just so impressed. It was a tough fight. Quadras is a proper good operator. And yeah, it was a tough fight, but he showed he's not only got exceptional boxing brain, but he can, grit down his gum shield and beat people when it gets tough. So I think Estrada's got to be pretty high for me.
That Quadras fight was really good. That was for the WBC, wasn't it?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
Really,
it's quite weird because it was an all Mexican fight and it was like behind closed doors.
Yeah.
And what you ended up getting was just two blokes just going at it, and they both really wanted it. Yeah, like going toe to toe. But I think he's class. I think he's brilliant.
One thing's interesting from Hearn though on that is obviously I feel like Hearn's boy is Gonzalez, but I don't know if he signed. Has he signed Estrada?
Yeah.
Oh, he signed Estrada and he signed Gonzalez, is he?
I assume so. With Chocolatito, I'm not sure how it works, because he's probably a couple fights away from retiring now, but I don't know whether there's a contract there. I probably should know, but I know he signed Estrada. I know Estrada's obviously with DAZN, but I don't know the situation with Gonzalez.
Because I was thinking, because it's such almost a 50-50 fight in the sense that it's interesting for Hearn to do that, but I suppose in the contract what he normally does is if the B side, let's say, wins, they then have a 2-fight contract under Hearn. So it's quite clever for him. So whoever wins, he wins. Yeah,
I mean, it's a perfect scenario, mate. But there's a lot of fights like that coming up for Hearn where both fighters can make him money.
That's true.
It's just a good promoter, to be honest, when it boils down to it. But, and then number 6 for me is Vasily Lomachenko.
Really?
Yeah, he lost to Lopez, but mate, like he had 397 amateur fights, and he lost 1. He won 2 gold medals. He came into the sport. He boxed for a world title against Salido in his second fight. Horrible fight, but I can make an argument for Loma winning, and Salido definitely should have had more points taken off because he was just banging him below the belt. Didn't make weight, Salido, that night. And then he obviously boxed Gary Allen Russell Jr., who's still a really good name, in his third fight and beat him. And then he just started making people quit on their stools. He was brilliant against, well, I mean, Crawler's not really something you can judge him on, but I just think there's something to be said about an injury in that Teofimo fight, and I think I can expect him, like I said earlier, just to come back. And
in the Crawler fight, I actually wasn't astounded, because you know
what it was. I know why you're saying that, and it was like Crawler was finished, and he was just sort of like tucking up on the ropes for most of the fight. But it wasn't the way he was knocking him out. It was the feet and the angles, and just like, mate, the way he like turns, fires, uses his feet, goes around the side and throws hooks in. Like, it's when you're like there alive, I'm sure, and watching his feet, you must be just completely blown away. Because the guy when he was young, before he turned pro, before he started boxing amateurs, when he was really young, his dad made him do, I think, 3 years of traditional Ukrainian dance to learn, master the art of feet in boxing. And like his training methods and the way he trains and like learns to cut angles and his boxing, like, I mean, he's really like high tech when it comes to feet and angles. And I just think, don't write him off, because I think he'll be back, and I think he'll be back, and he'll be winning more world titles. That's what I reckon. But yeah. And what about your
number 6? Is it now for me?
Sorry, mate. Yeah, 6.
Yeah. For 6, I've got Tyson Fury. I didn't want to put him any lower, because heavyweights are quite not often in pound for pound lists. But I think if any heavyweight is going to be in a pound for pound list, it will be him. It's just his head movement and his slickness. It reminds me of the likes of Billy Joe, but better. And I just feel like that boxing ability, obviously at any weight, would be unreal. The fact that, and it was, for me, it was his footwork in the Deontay Wilder rematch, where he'd slip in, move out, slip in and move out. And he was like back and forth, but he was still using his feet and moving forward and not getting hit. It's just unreal. And a straight arm, when he straights arm people, it's unreal.
It's impossible. Like, I think it's the measuring of distance, mate, with him. It's just like you just said there, it's completely perfectly put. It's just the way he can come forward and put it on you, but at the same time, for some reason, you're boxing him and you can't hit him.
Yeah.
I imagine that's like a weird concept when you're boxing him. But yeah, his measuring of distance is just, it's untold. The reason I don't have him in there is just because I can most American boxing critics now, especially after that Wilder win, throw him in there pound for pound. But just for me, that the heavyweight standalone, just like that's how I have it in my head, because heavyweight boxing is the pinnacle of the sport, and I almost have my own top 10 for the heavyweights. But if I'm being completely honest, if I was gonna put heavyweights in there, I'd still want to see him beat Joshua before I put him in there, because of Joshua's resume to date. I'd find it a little bit unfair, just personally, to have Fury in there now without beating him.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll just blow Joshua away, and then you'll be proved right in terms of the pound for pound. But just for me, I would wait and see the result of that AJ fight. But I'm not going to include heavyweights in this list anyway, with the exception of Usyk.
No, that's fair enough. Like I completely understand your reasoning there. Just for me, AJ is obviously a brilliant heavyweight. When it comes down to pound for pound, he's more of a knockout artist and breaks you down rather than an actual skillful boxer. And so that's just why he's not in there for me. But I do understand your reasoning completely.
Mate, I can totally see that, definitely.
Who have you got for fifth?
5, I've got Teofimo Lopez, because he beat the man below him. It's the plain and simple fact. I think he's just brilliant. And I think when he moves up to super lightweight, I'd quite like to see Josh Taylor just stay there, sort of win the undisputed, stay there, and then box him.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in that Josh Taylor fight yet, but man, Lopez is a good fighter. Fury has been saying it for ages and nobody was listening. And then he went there and he did exactly what Fury said he was going to do, which was just blow him away, basically. Just, he was too strong for Lomachenko on the night, won all of the first 8 rounds. And yeah, I think he hits so hard at lightweight. He's such a big man at lightweight, and when he moves up, he's going to really start taking the boxing world by storm. What about yourself?
So it's so funny you said that. Mine's Teofimo Lopez at 5. It's the exact same reason, and I only realised Fury was saying that after he put it on his Instagram story. And then I looked into it, and I was like, "You're right. You've been saying it for a long time." And it was just, for me, it was so unexpected. I'll be throwing my hands up. I wasn't really following his journey too deeply before that fight.
Yeah.
And then I went back and I think I watched, I can't remember what fight it was. I think it was the Edis Till fight. I can't remember. It's a couple of fights ago, and I watched it and I just thought, he's amazing. Like,
he is. He's really, really good.
Yeah, and that's all you can say. Like, yeah. I was just blown away, and I was thinking, but also his value. Like, when you talk about promotion, I don't think his value is good enough.
No,
I don't think he's got a big enough name. Like Ryan Garcia, for me, has got more monetary value than Teofimo Lopez, and Teofimo Lopez just beat the man. So I don't know whether it's his promotion, but
well, I think the latest purse isn't bad though, mate. Like,
yeah, you're right, 6 million, yeah.
Yeah, and I think
2 million.
with boxing and the sort of the landscape of boxing in America, it's just going to take a bit of momentum. So, like, if you beat Garcia, for example, because of how big Garcia's following is, that could captivate the US audience. Like, if he went in there, blew him away, people would like look back at what he's done already and go, "Oh my God, this is a superstar in the making." So, I think it's coming. But I do agree, he's not quite the superstar that he should be.
Yeah.
if it was boxing in the 80s or 90s, he'd be a superstar. He'd be
Yeah.
like, he'd be walking down the street and getting mobbed. It's just as simple as that, really. But I can see what you're saying. And then number 4 for you, mate.
Number 4 for me, I've got Crawford. Because I favour Crawford in the Errol Spence fight. I really want to see that fight so bad. And I just...
We all, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, as we all. And I was stuck between almost putting, who was I going to put in there, Errol Spence or Crawford? Because I didn't really want to put both in there.
Right.
And I just favour Crawford, so I thought he's got to be on my list.
Yeah. I mean, I got him a bit higher than 4, but anywhere in that top 5 is fair enough. So yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, my number 4 was Alexander Usyk. I've got him really high up in the list. I think he's completely and utterly unbeatable at cruiserweight. I look at the cruiserweight top 10 now. You've got Breedis, Dorticus, Makabu in that. He beats them all. He beats them all with ease. And then at heavyweight, he causes tough nights for a lot of people. Stylistically, obviously, I know he's a bit smaller, but he's still tall enough at heavyweight. Like, you've got to think Ruiz is smaller than him in height.
Yeah.
But I know Ruiz is a different style. He's an inside fighter. He throws quick hands when he gets on the inside. But man, that guy can box, Usyk. And almost the Chisora fight, he's going to learn so much from that, because when you've got a heavyweight that hits that hard, walking you down, knowing you can take a shot, really, it means a lot. It means you can go into the next fights with a bit more confidence that you can take a shot at heavyweight. Because he will be down in his career at heavyweight. He'll be knocked over and on the canvas. But at heavyweight, it's about, what you do next and stuff. And I just think he's got the IQ and the know-how and the nous to beat a lot of guys in that top 5 at heavyweight. So he's there for me. But number 3, I suppose I'll start on this one. My number 3 is Naoya Inoue.
Yeah.
Got the pronunciation right there, I think. But I think as he moves up the weights, mate, it's going to be incredible to see what his career now and how it progresses. Pound for pound, he's the hardest puncher in the world for me. Pound for pound, because I think he's got something like 18 knockouts in 19 fights or in 25.
25.
Yeah. He's a freeweight world champion already. And he just looks like anyone around that bantam, super bantam, that sort of area is just going to get knocked out by him, because like you can outbox him all you like, but you're going to get pinged. And it's not a power where, like, do you know what it is? It's like that sharp shooting power where it's like close range. If you find yourself falling in and you get caught by one of those shots, you're out. Like, you are out, mate. He hits so hard. It's ridiculous, mate. It is absolutely untold how hard he hits for that weight. It's insane. If any listeners here that don't know boxing that well, if you haven't watched Naoya Inoue fight before, go and watch him fight. He hits so hard. What about you? Who's at your number 3?
It's exactly the same. I got Naoya Inoue. So when you said it, I was like, yeah, it has to be. And he was at my 3rd. And I don't want to go into too much because you put it so perfectly there. But the monster himself, as you call it, at bantamweight, he's just... I can't wait to see where he goes. I think he's going to go down a great. I actually do. So I'll leave it there. You talked about him so well, but unreal.
Yeah, it's just going to be so good to follow him, I think, now. Like, yeah, I think, well, he's a superstar, isn't he, in Japan?
Yeah.
An absolute superstar. And everyone's going to be calling to fight him in and around those weights, because they want... they want to go to Japan and get the big payday, and I think he's just going to keep knocking him out, mate. But
his last fight against Jason Maloney, that KO was unreal.
Oh, mate.
So
yeah,
I'm sure that will happen.
It's like you sometimes in boxing you see fighters, and you watch them and you're like, it's superhuman. It looks superhuman, mate, when he hits you. Like, it's ridiculous. Yeah, he just knocks out everything. You can punch through walls. What about number 2, mate? Who's
there we go. I'm stuck here.
All right, yeah, fair.
So I wrote down so I had my top 5 in the head, and then when we were going to top 10, okay, I was like, okay, I need to write this down to get it clearer. And I'm stuck between a few people. It's so difficult.
Yeah, it is, mate.
But I genuinely think Teofimo Lopez is my number 2.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was gonna put, it has to be Teofimo Lopez for me.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you're gonna move number 2. Fair. Yeah.
It was just the way. I know it's so controversial, but I can't see anybody beating him. I can't see Lomachenko coming back and avenging that against him. I think the exact same thing is going to happen.
So you think a lightweight no one beats him?
Yeah, and I don't want to see him go up a weight. I want to see him stay at lightweight undefeated and leave the sport. Fuck this. You have to do 2-weight world champion. I don't want that. I just want him to be the best lightweight of all time and leave the sport.
Yeah, I think Gervonta will move up. What a fight that's going to be if we can get that, if that can get made. What a fight that's going to be. And yeah, I sort of agree in terms of at lightweight. There's nobody there. I mean, I think Devin Haney gives him a tough night.
No, mate. I think he walks over Devin Haney. Genuinely.
Devin Haney's one of those fighters, mate, where he's going to be quite hard to beat because like he's got that tucked up, shoulder rollish American defensive style. He also packs a bang for sure, but he's got that awkward style where I think he's going to be just quite a little bit harder to beat than people think.
You have to, with that kind of style, you have to be the best. Like Mayweather could do it because he was the best. If you leave yourself so open, so unless you're on it every second of the fight, it's such a risky style for me. And Devin Haney lost to Ryan Garcia, and I mean it wasn't the amateurs, but for me, Eddie Hearn's doing a great job promoting him. But I think Teofimo Lopez genuinely walks all over him.
I mean, a lot of people share the opinion, so yeah, I don't have a problem with what you said at all. I think yeah, he's brilliant. So, but yeah, that would be my only thing. And I think if he was to move up, the fight with Josh Taylor or the winner of Taylor Ramirez would be monumental. And I think he can beat both those guys.
Yeah.
So I know you want him to stay lightweight and smash everyone because that division is red hot, but there's a lot of people at lightweight like Ryan Garcia that look very big at the weight, so I think they'll move up anyway.
Yeah,
beat the fighters up there like Josh Taylor's looking brilliant, and I know the Ring Magazine have got, it's one person I missed out is Josh Taylor, and he just missed out along with Pacquiao for me. But I think when he wins that fight with Ramirez, he'll go into the top 10, and then the career defining fight then probably will be Teofimo moving up and boxing him. Unless Taylor moves up himself, but I would like to see Taylor stick around and box Teofimo.
That would be an amazing fight.
Yeah.
We'll see anyway. What about you? What's your who's your second for you, mate?
Terence Crawford.
Really?
Yeah, he's incredible. Obviously, the way the promotional game is, he hasn't really boxed. I mean, he's still got amazing wins on that record. People say, you know, he hasn't boxed the top guys yet or and stuff, but he's what, 30? How old is he? 33 now.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up.
He had wins in 2013, 14, which were like incredible wins.
Yeah,
and he's on this run now where he's beaten, you know, he beat Khan, is at the end of his career, beat Brook and beat those sort of names that were big once upon a time. And now, just to finish his career, all he needs to do is beat Spence, and then beat Porter, and maybe Pacquiao, but I think he's done. And then that's it. He's got greatness because he'll retire undefeated. Huge amount of knockouts on his record. Big star, sold out MSG. Like he's got to be at number 2 for me. And then I don't think we really need to say much with number 1 because I think everyone on the planet has got, anyone of credibility for me has got this man at number 1.
Yeah, you're right. It has to be Sal.
None other than Sal Canelo Alvarez, mate. I think we'll appreciate him even more when he's gone. He's not the best Mexican fighter at the moment of all time. I think if he wins undisputed at 168, I think then you can make a strong argument for it. I think, but he's certainly up there. How good is he, mate? He's unbelievable.
It's so weird because we love the sport so much. When I'm talking about him, it's actually sending shivers down my spine because how fucking good he is, mate. Like it's disgusting. I just sometimes when I wake up, right, and I haven't got to go to work for like 30 minutes or whatever, I'll just sit there, go on YouTube, type in head movement Canelo, and I'll just watch videos of him just in the gym swinging the bag, and it's like it's the sixth sense. It's sickening. And the one thing as well, the fact that a fighter of his value is coming out. He wants to box 5 times this year. I mean, that is something as fans we have to be thankful for. Of course, the AJ Fury, the other big names in the sport, they box once, twice a year. And we've got Canelo fighting every 8 weeks on DAZN right now for £1.99. What the fuck?
Yeah, when you put it like that, mate, like it's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, I think there are guys at 168 that will give him tough nights, but ultimately, if I'm completely honest with myself, I mean, I know what I said about Billy Joe on here before, and how I think he can beat him. And I think he probably will. That's genuinely how I feel. But mate, just the feet, and like the way he cuts the ring off and walks you down. No matter, even if you're bigger than him, he'll cut you down, keep walking at you, and then you'll throw back at him, and he'll just like, mate, the head movement, like you say. The punch power, the punch selection, like when he gets close and he's got someone on the ropes, we saw it against Callum Smith. He did a feint, like where he threw it out there and then went up the middle and round the side, and just like the way, like especially at the moment when there's less fans, when you got the stunt mics and you hear the shots, like it would put me and you out for like a week if you got hit by one of those uppercuts. Like they are, he dirty fighter, mate. Like incredible human being. So yeah, I think anyone of any credibility has got to have him at number 1.
Yeah, and his team, Eddie Reynoso. I mean, I know everyone right now is brown nosing Eddie Reynoso, but I'm excited to see what he does with Andy Ruiz.
Yeah, I think the same. I think as soon as I saw he was with him, I thought, yeah, everyone's got to duck him.
Yeah,
Stay very far away from him. He'll come back like really strong in the legs. Obviously, you know, he's got those naturally fast hands, but he'll just pick his shots a bit better, because I think the way Reynoso works with his fighters, like he does that work where it's like left lead hooks to the body and head, and like calculated shots and setting fighters up. Whereas before, Ruiz was just sort of quite a hard hitting heavyweight, really quick, and just threw loads of shots. But now he'll be more calculated with them.
Yeah.
And I think there's sorry, my cat's snoring. And he'll be really calculated and come back a really good fighter. So yeah, I agree. But yeah, moving on now a little bit, we'll just we said we'd have a bit of a rant today about there being too many belts in boxing. I think the best place to start with that subject is probably the WBC.
Yeah.
Because I like what's his face, Mauricio Sullivan.
Mauricio Sullivan, yeah.
And he seemed a nice man. Let me say that for him. But what a bell end, mate!
Unreal. Yeah, mate.
What a prick. Like in terms of how he's behaving in the sport. You know, I won't go there with Yildirim and how he managed to put him in the mandatory position, because that's a disgrace in itself. But to just keep adding like franchise this, diamond that, silver this, interim this. If you look at the situation in the lightweight division recently, from a casual fan's perspective, Connor, I don't know if you agree here, but you have Garcia. He's winning that fight and he's holding up a belt that looks like that says world title on it. It's gold, and Reynoso's got a trainer world title belt, which isn't a world title because Haney holds it. Haney's got the WBC by email, because the situation was chaos. I don't blame Haney for it. And then Teofimo's boxing in the same division. He's winning the franchise bollocks title that makes no sense. And then he's got another belt in his hand on his right arm. You can look up the photo that says world title on it from the WBC. So we've got a situation now where, including the silver or whatever it is, I mean, it's getting so bad I can't even keep up. We've got like 5 champions with the WBC.
And that is fucking ridiculous. Yeah.
It's a disgrace, mate. Like a casual fan like my dad, we were watching that Garcia Campbell fight. He goes, so he's won the world title, is he, Garcia? I'm like, no, Dad, that's not a world title. He's like, what? It says world title on it. It's gold.
Yeah.
Do you not agree? Like, what is going on?
It's disgusting. And so Mauricio Sullivan, he's the head of the WBC by family, right?
Yeah.
And what he's doing, destroying that legacy, is disgusting.
The brand is so strong. Like when you think boxing, you think of the WBC and like Tyson holding up the WBC on his shoulders, Frank Bruno after that night.
It's the belt.
It's the belt in boxing. Like everybody wants to win that green and gold belt, and it probably, apart from the ring or the WBA, but I take the point. Like everyone wants to win that green and gold belt, and to see it go down the drain, like I'm starting to think, you know what, fuck the WBC. Let's bring the IBO in and get rid of it, because they're just behaving like idiots.
Jake Paul had a fucking WBC belt after
And
the
they gave him a T-shirt and stuff. Like
what are they doing?
Yeah, it's really getting on my nerves, mate.
It's just, you know what it is, when you look at boxing, the reason I think people love boxing so much is because we can sit down and have these kind of conversations. We can sit down and debate it for not even hours, days, right? And that comes with WBC, IBO, WBA, like having all of these organizations and having, you know, the rivalries between promoters. So I don't think it would work if it turns into UFC where everything's under one hat, because that is why we love it. But there, at some point, does have to be a time where we sit back and go, what the fuck is going on? And why is there a fella being crowned world champion by email? And then they're walking down, have you seen the video where they're walking down the hall together and they cross paths? And Eddie Hearn's there. And I think, what's his name, has just been given the world champion by email. And he's sitting there going, well, I'm the champ. It's like, no, mate, you're the franchise champion.
What other sport? No, mate, that's absolutely spot on, Connor. What other sport would you have an argument between two competitors over who is the champion?
Oh.
Like winning the 100 meters, getting given the gold and giving the other bloke like some form of gold medal, and then them having an argument on the podium as to who stands on the top.
It's insane, mate.
What the fuck is going on, mate? I can't get my head around it. And the WBA behave a little bit better, but you've got that regular and super champion. Like Groves won that super middleweight world title, didn't he? And it was read out the WBA super middleweight world title. So a lot to process there. And you had like Rocky Fielding with that WBA regular. I suppose in a way you can make an argument that he got that big shot, didn't he, in America at MSG because he had that WBA regular status. But what this is really all about, and Floyd Mayweather, this is his words, not mine. It's about sanctioning fees and, you know, making money. And that's what everything's about in life. But there needs to be, someone needs to be holding these people account. And I know Eddie has a great relationship with Mauricio Sullivan. And as I said before, I'm sure he's a really nice guy, but he's behaving like a bit of a bell end in the sport. And I think someone like Eddie needs to have a conversation. It's his responsibility to have a conversation for me. Same with Frank or Bob or whatever, but they need to be having conversations with these guys and just holding them to account a bit more, I think.
It's so true. I was going to touch upon sanctioning fees, because even like, now this isn't, they've come out and said this isn't true, but take it however you want. Eddie said in January that he was going to put a show on every week, almost for the year, right? And try and do a lot of UK shows behind closed doors. British Boxing Board of Control, I know they're not a governing body for belts, but they've come out and said no boxing until March. So Eddie's made a public statement saying, no worries, fights still happen, we'll go abroad.
Yeah.
Now, Eddie pays sanctioning fees to the British Boxing Board of Control, and also obviously if there's a world title belt or what we think is a world title belt, we'll pay sanctioning fees there. And so that's fine, we'll go abroad. Suddenly, a day later, or like, I think it was after the weekend, is it Robert Smith, or I can't remember, the head of the British Boxing Board of Control comes out and says, oh, don't worry, we're going to bring boxing back in about 4 weeks. And it's like they were delaying it for 3 months. And the minute Eddie threatens that he's going to move abroad and not pay them the money to stage the fights in the UK, suddenly everything's back. It's all about the money. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think with that, you know, that situation, the original decision was the correct decision, because at the time, you know, you needed the doctors in the hospitals instead of ringside. So I think this is great. But then, as you say, to then sacrifice that decision because someone's saying that you're not going to get paid, you're spot on. It says all that needs to be said about the state of boxing. It's messed up. And I think as well, just quickly, what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about Okolie Glowacki in a bit more detail.
Yeah.
Just because, like, British boxing this year is the best year ever, potentially, because you could have a situation where Billy Joe shocks the world, Taylor's undisputed, you've got Fury Joshua, so you're going to have an undisputed heavyweight world champion from the UK, and then you've got Okolie taking the cruiserweight scene by storm. But how do you sort of see that fight go, mate, with Okolie?
Mate, it's such a weird one.
Yeah.
Like, when I look at Okolie, I just think, first thing I think is, first of all, you shouldn't be in this position. Like, this is crazy. Like, I look back and think, I remember when he first started training with Shane McGuigan, and I thought, no, he won't last long. And then he starts banging people out because he's got such long arms. And then I'm thinking, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, him and Eddie and the team have built himself up to get the fight with Glowacki. I mean, it's amazing. And to be honest, I actually now think he's improved so much, especially in his last 2 or 3 fights. I think he probably stops him, to be honest. I can't really see. What about you? I can't really see Glowacki outboxing or getting away from his punches. I think he'll probably break him down slowly and probably be quite early.
Glowacki throws weird shots from weird and crazy, stupid angles, and he hits hard enough. So it's just going to be one of those nights where it could be a bit of a snooze fest for a little bit of the early period, because I think Okolie's going to have to keep it long or close off the distance and get close, and just negate that awkwardness where you might get caught by a silly shot. But I think you're right, mate. I think I can just see him being calculated and measured, and McGuigan building up a nice game plan just to get in there and stop him late. Maybe with not like a one-punch knockout potentially, maybe just like a accumulation of shots across the rounds, and then mid to late maybe. But Glowacki's dangerous, and I don't want to be a fence sitter here, because I keep saying, someone's just going to win, but I think with this one in particular, we haven't seen Okolie at that level, really, and you never know, he could step up and just get smashed, which I know is like a bit of a weird concept, but he could. It's as simple as that, really. But I think ultimately you hit the nail on the head. I think he'll be calculated, measured, and just stop him.
Talk about him. Have you heard a song he released yesterday?
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of Okolie until that. So I hope he gets. It's what you're doing, mate. Like, get out of it. You're not Roy Jones. Like, stop singing.
Mate, it's so bad.
It's just just stop it, mate. Nah, listen. Like, I got a lot of love for Okolie. He's a Brit, and I'll be rooting for him. So I hope he comes out with a win.
So do I. And he's got a book coming out as well.
Oh, really? Yeah. You don't want to lose and then release the book, do you?
Yeah, it's a bit of a bold statement to drop that before.
And then get smashed. Like, can you imagine?
Yeah, hilarious.
I don't want to read that book. Like, you've just been blown away, like live on television.
Do you want to touch upon, before we go? Maybe we could do a whole episode on this, probably. But we could touch upon the rematch with Vetkin White. That's 3 weeks away, 2 weeks away, 20th, isn't it? 23rd. So I don't know how you see that one going. For me, I just see Dillian White doing what he did, but being more switched on and breaking him down. And I think he probably won't even look for the knockout, Dillian White. He'll probably just try and keep him on his edge, and if it comes, it will come. That's my opinion of it. I don't know what you think.
I think Dillian White wins, and I think he wins by stoppage. But I think there'll be moments, even in this new fight, where he'll get caught. And it just depends whether he's caught clean, because we've seen Dylan can go over if you catch him clean. But I think, like, when you think about the way they'll be preparing for that fight, they'll be working on that shot, the uppercut, because Dylan's been laid out now twice with that shot against Joshua, similar shot, and then Povetkin, where he comes up the middle and throws it. And I think, he'll, like you said, maybe he'll keep it nice and long in those instances. But ultimately, when he gets close and you get caught by Dylan, like, you're going over. And he knocked him over. How many times was it before?
It was 3 times.
Yeah, 2 or 3 times. Yeah, I just see this time him knocking him over and knocking him over for good. But mate, like I'm gonna say again, so and so is gonna win, but because it's so relevant in boxing, especially in the heavyweight division, and Povetkin could catch him clean and knock him out, mate. And that can happen in any fight in heavyweights. But yeah, I think Dylan will beat him.
Such a big fight for Dylan because that's it. If Dylan loses, obviously he's still a name, but he's not pay-per-view. He's not top. Where does he go after that? Who do you fight? Because you've got to drop down. I mean, you can even look at the likes of people like Christian Hammer and then try. Do you know what I mean? Like after you've got to have an easy fight after you losing twice and build yourself up. So I don't even know where he'd go if he lost.
Yeah, I think he'd probably just go back down to European and try and build himself up. How old is Dylan now?
Don't know. Shall I look it up?
Sorry, mate, I've just muted myself. Yeah.
32. So he's getting on. I mean, Povetkin's 41 though, so
he'll be boxing until his grave, mate. To be honest, he's when you think about Povetkin's career, like he's given us some really good nights. Like he wobbled Joshua. I must say, I picked Povetkin in that Joshua fight.
Really?
I picked Povetkin. I even had a bet. I thought stylistically he was going to give Joshua his toughest night, and he did hit him clean and half wobbled him. But I think I got laughed at for that prediction. And I think he's just given us some great nights. I got a soft spot for Povetkin. I know there's been some controversy around some things in his career and stuff, but like that Price night was what a night, what a fight in the night. It was what a fight. And yeah, the Joshua night and the Dylan White night.
For me, he actually did lose to Hunter though.
Yeah, but everyone, when you're that age, you're gonna lose. You're gonna take losses. He's so old. Yeah, I really like Povetkin, and I hope he retires a rich man. To be fair,
yeah, he definitely deserves it. So,
yeah, wicked, mate. So I think we've covered enough waffle there.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm sure there was some good rants in there. Okay, that's the end of episode 4. So thanks for the listeners, and we'll have some more guests in the upcoming episodes. We've got a few ideas lined up, so look out for that. And yeah, I hope everyone has a good end to their week. So cheers.